The shelves at Goodwill are filled with DIYs made by other crafters begging for a second chance. That's where we come in. Today, we rejuvenate 5 thrift store finds made by other crafters while maintaining their integrity. These cathedral windows look like something I've seen at the Dollar Tree. Somebody took 2 of them and glued them together in the center. And I think honestly that this was a craft that somebody maybe gave up on because it has this big area in the front where the 2 pieces meet that just looks like something was there and torn off because the paint was completely missing. And I'm just using a couple of different tools here to smooth it off and give myself a nice smooth canvas. The paint that I'm going to use for this project is Summer Porch by Home Decor, and it's chalk paint. So this will give it a nice farmhouse feel. I gave it a light sanding and off camera a dry brush of white chalk paint. So I'm going to take this small circle that I have. I feel like I have a ton of these in my stash and look for reasons to use them. I gave it 1 coat of acrylic white paint, and after that dried, I'm adding on a few small rub-on transfers. If this is your first time popping in, welcome. My name is Melissa, and I really appreciate you being here. Stick with me a bit longer because coming up in the video, we will de-skin a vase covered in plaster, and we'll repurpose everyday thrift finds into functional, beautiful home decor. Thank you to all the other YouTube creators who have shown me this little trick with the pool noodle. We're going to just cut it down just a tiny bit more here because it was a little too thick for what we need. I'm going to cut it in half, and this is going to sit between the cathedral windows and our wood round. I have a collection of picks that were pulled off from larger pieces of floral, and I just kind of laid them all out here on the table because to be honest, I don't do a whole lot of planning with these. I sat down to do this DIY and I didn't even really know what I was going to do with it. So I have all these picks and I will not be using a majority of them, but you'll see as I go that I'm just placing them and I'm trying to make it look different from anything else that you've seen, because everything looks so similar in the retail space as far as florals go. And I didn't want this to end up looking like a memorial piece, which I think could go that way if we're not careful. I added a few picks of lavender peeking out higher than any other part of this on the top corner. And on the left side, I really just put some greenery because I didn't need flower to go all the way around it. I finished it with a light coat of clear wax, and here she is finished. What do you think? Do you think it's too simple? It needs more? Do y'all think it needs a bow? I'm not really a huge fan of bows. I think they have their place. But let me know what you think. If you would have added a bow, where on this piece you would have added it. This piece can be on a shelf leaned up against the wall like I have it here, or you can hang it on the wall in your entryway, sunroom, bedroom, and even your powder room. When I first saw this piece on the shelf at Goodwill, I truly thought that it was a piece that was manufactured and not done over by a crafter. And that may partially be the case, but the words "Here Come the Bride" was written in pencil and darkened in with pencil, and when I brushed my fingers over it in the store, I had pencil come off onto my thumb. During the cleaning process, I wiped off as much of the pencil as I could, and going in with just 1 coat of white acrylic paint. I had always seen those upside down cheese graters that people used as hand towel holders in the kitchen. I loved the idea, didn't love the cheese grater look. So we're going to try to accomplish that with this piece. I also wanted to have a dual purpose, so I can use it as the hand towel holder or just use it as a vessel for my kitchen counter. So I'm applying these rub-on transfers in a way that they will look pretty, whether this piece is hanging upside down or sitting straight up on the counter. I want you guys to hear something funny. Listen to this. That's Maisie in the kitchen banging her bowl around like she does when she wants to eat. Not sure if I told you, but Maisie cannot hear a thing. And I actually have 2 other cats. Neither of them are as rotten as Maisie. She adds so much life and fun to our house. And she wants what she wants when she wants it. If my audio sounds just a smidge different from one clip to another, it's simply because I was pausing to find out what Maisie needed. Here's our finished box in the 2 different ways it can be used, sitting upright on the counter and hanging upside down on the wall to use as a small shelf for an interesting item at the top and a place to dry your hands. What do you think of this one? I really hope that you are seeing a theme here. The items we're flipping today are things that I think are commonly found in thrift stores. And you'll see that, like this key holder and the other thrift flips coming up in this video, many of these items are forgotten. And I can't help but to want to breathe new life into old projects that another crafter, someone who shared the same passions with myself, put time into making. This very well could have been the place for someone to hang their keys after a long day's work, coming home to their family. And it served that purpose for who knows how many years before it landed in the thrift store. Let's save it. It took almost no effort to remove the apple on here, so I was really grateful for that. I removed the tags and the hardware and giving it just a light sand. I believe I'm using a 120 grit here, and I just want to remove as much of that top coat finish as I can. And this takes it back to a beautiful natural wood appearance. The goal is to turn this into more of an organizer, so I'm going down into my shop, which lives in the basement of my house. I have this small miter saw that I bought for just crafts, and I have even used my miter box for these types of cuts, so use whatever you feel most comfortable with. I cut down 2 pieces at 17 inches long, which matches the length of the key holder, and then 8 smaller pieces, each at 2.5 inches. And at the top there, I also have a piece of scrap wood that I'll use as the bottom of the basket. And when I get to that point, I'll measure and see what I need to cut it down to. But to get started, I'm going to glue the wood pieces together to form a box. And I'm using wood glue here. Any wood glue will work. I'm going to use a few clamps to keep everything in place, and I'll attach a little bit of painter's tape at the bottom to keep things from shifting. I quickly measure the bottom piece for my cut and set this aside to dry overnight. Coming back the next day, I have a few pieces of rattan that I'm going to use to form the walls of our basket. I'm hot gluing it in, and of course using finger protection because that glue seeps right through those holes. On the first side, I start gluing on one end and work my way down to the other. But on the second side, I start gluing in the middle so that I can pull it completely taut, and then I go from one side to the other. And this helps me avoid any buckling of the rattan. I flip it over to make sure that the circles in the wood fabric or rattan are running in a straight line. We want to make sure that they're not crooked because it will definitely be noticeable if they are. I'm going to clean up the edges to make sure nothing is peeking out where it shouldn't be, and then I'll start the sides. If you're still with me, I appreciate you for hanging in there. I know that these videos can be long and they can be quite a chunk out of your day, but I'm glad that you're here, and I will never ever take you for granted. If you want to see more content like this and you're not already subscribed, please consider doing so. Definitely hit that like button and comment. The comments is what proves engagement to YouTube, and it's really a big part of whether YouTube shows this video to others. And now I'm going to attach that bottom piece, and this will form the bottom of our basket. I'm using 2 coffee stir sticks at the top and 2 again at the bottom, just to cover where that rattan meets the edge. It just gives it a clean finish. I'm going to set the basket aside and work on the back part. If I haven't already said so, I appreciate the time that you spend with me. It really helps the channel when you stay longer than normal or until the end of the video and share your feedback. The tips and tricks that you leave in the comments help other crafters, and they just really uplift my day. I get a little heavy-handed when dry brushing on the white acrylic paint and sand some of it back. Later in the video, I don't like the way it looks, and you'll see that I sand even more of it back. I'm adding a wood blank here covered in decoupage paper or rice paper that I found in my stash, and I'm going to put it here on the top to try to cover up where that apple was. And now just making sure that my basket fits on as expected, and when it all looks good, I'm going to go back in with my wood glue and stick it on there. I'm not using any hot glue to attach any wood pieces together, and I recommend that if you recreate something like this, that you also use just wood glue. Hot glue is good for small embellishments, not so good for something you want to stand up over time. But even on this small finial, I'm choosing to use wood glue. I set the whole thing aside to ensure that the glue holding the basket to the back was completely dry. I think it was about 30 minutes or so. This next move I will later change my mind about, but for now I'm going to paint just the basket white. Here's what it looked like doing that. I wasn't crazy about the color differentials here, so I went back in with my white acrylic paint and covered the rattan. To finish it off, I'm adding on a few wood embellishments. and sand back some of that white dry brush I did earlier. I thought that it just looked a little too blotchy the way it was. The final step is to reattach our hardware and decide whether we're going to hang this on the wall or let it set on a tabletop. This is what all 4 of the sides look like. I wanted to show you how everything has clean lines and looks finished. And here's the final reveal. I hope that you guys like this one. It's definitely big enough to fit full magazines. I mean, it's 17 inches in length. This one was a little more involved, but I really love the outcome. You have to let me know what you think. I'm just crazy about any kind of decorative organization. This will be another quick and easy thrift flip made by someone of the name Jamie. I'm taking a moment to show you the fine art detail and craftsmanship of this small box. After cleaning it up, I'll use my hands and scissors to take off as little as possible of that outer lid edge, trying not to damage it any further. There was a tiny little brad in the top there, and I used my scissors to remove that as well. I'm using Waverly chalk paint in the color Dusk to paint the bottom portion of the box. This took me 2 coats to cover the entire inside and outside. Prior to choosing the paint colors, I went to my stash of rice paper, chose an image I liked, and then chose paint colors that would complement that. The lid is painted in Admiral Blue, and that's done in acrylic paint. I'm cutting down 2 strips at about 3/4 of an inch in this faux leather from Dollar Tree, and I'll use this to cover that outer edge that we just cut down. It'll have a nice permanent hold with our wood glue, and I'm going to clamp this and allow it to dry. Moving back to the body of the box, I'll use my finger sander to remove the paint from those metal brads. And that's really it. We're not going to go overboard with this piece. I just wanted something very simple to come of it, and I think we achieved that. I almost passed on this vase at Goodwill because it just looked very involved. It looked again like maybe a project someone gave up on, or it was severely damaged. But here she is. She came home with me. I've never been afraid of a challenge before, so here we go. I really wasn't sure what I was getting into with this, but I did see a couple of areas where something underneath was peeking through, and I was very curious to know what it is. So I will start by removing all of the clay on the outer side of here. Now, I believe that this was oven baked clay because it's just coming off way too easy. If you ever used oven baked clay but you didn't follow through with the baking process, the clay never fully dries. It was relatively easy, and then I soaked it in some hot water for about 2 hours, which made it easy for me to remove what I think is plaster from the entire inside and outside of the vase. I gave it a good cleaning with alcohol, and now I'm going to apply a temporary tattoo. We put this face down onto the project and dampen it over the back, and wait until you see how quick and how seamlessly this applies to the vase. I apply the tattoo to the front and the back of the vase, and then go in with some burnt umber acrylic paint to cover the areas at the bottom of the vase where the original finish has chipped off. There were a few areas of the vase that had lost its luster, probably from processing and cleaning everything off, and I corrected this by spraying the entire thing with clear coat sealer. And this is just made by Mod Podge, but it serves two purposes: to make it shiny again and to also seal in that tattoo. Let me know what you think about this vase stripped down and taken back to its natural state. Here's a look back on all 5 of the thrift flips we did today. I don't know, what do you think? Do you think the crafters who started these projects would be proud? Everybody have a great week, and thank you so much for being here. Here's another video that you can check out that I think you might enjoy. Take care.